You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
What a beautiful day for horses in the morning.
You are listening to the #1 horse podcast in the world. Here is your entertaining look at the horse world and the people in it.
Well, good Monday morning, everybody. I am Glenn the Geek from Ocala, Florida.
And I'm Ashley Winch in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And you're listening to Horses in the Morning on Horse Radio Network for Monday, June 24th, episode 3460 by WERM Flooring. Good morning, Horse World.
You heard that right. It's Monday. The first day of a fabulous week of shows on Horses in the Morning. So saddle up and ride along. We promise to help you get through your week.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We have a fun show planned for you. Jamie is just getting done with the movement. She's flying home today from California, so she'll be back on the show on Wednesday. Thank you, Ashley, for filling in on your last week before you head out for having a baby.
I know. I was so excited. I was like, I get to do one more.
So we have Dana on the show today. She is producer of the film Rescued Hearts. She's going to tell us about this amazing film that shares powerful stories of those who have experienced incredible transformations and the providers who make it happen. DeAnn from Horse Nation is back, and we're going to talk about horse costs, one of my favorite topics as a horse husband, and vacation concerns. And this is when you go on vacation, all the things you worry about with your horses. Plus, Olympic news and more. And then in the Auditor post-show, Ashley and I are going to do some equestrian actually, you did the equestrian first world problems. We're just going to read them in the post-show and also talk about what's going on around here. So we'll do that in the Auditor post-show. Well, every year we cover it. That's right. The 2024 World's Ugliest Dog contest is done. It's held at the Sonoma-Marin County Fair in Petaluma, California every year. And it happened on Friday. And I gotta say, for the first time in a long time, a Chinese crested did not win. Now, Chinese cresteds hold the record for the breed with the most wins because they're really ugly dogs. I'm sorry. I know I pissed off the goat community last week, but it's Chinese crested community this week. You have some ugly dogs. There's a reason they win every year. But this year, and I had a Pika Palm once, so this hits close to home too. He was kind of an ugly little dog too. It's the fourth time the 8-year-old Pekingese named Wild Thang has competed in the contest. He's come in second 3 times before, and this year he won. So Wild Thang, the Pekingese, won. Now, he has never had his hair cut. When you look at it.
Yeah, I can tell.
When you look at it, you're looking at a picture of this crazy thing?
Oh, I had to look this up.
Well, it also looks like he hasn't washed his hair in his entire life either. It's kind of just scraggly looking. It's ugly. And then he's got this tongue that hangs out. All the winners have the tongue that hangs out. I
think that you have to have that to compete.
Yeah, he's from North Bend, or he grew up in Los Angeles, but now lives in North Bend, Oregon. And the owner said, well, he's never had a haircut. He likes to sleep on ice packs.
Well, geez, no kidding. Look at the poor guy.
I don't know why she's never given him a haircut. So he could win this contest, probably. Well, she won $5,000 on a trophy.
Well, that's more than I've won.
Now, an elderly pug in a wheelchair named Rome, by the way, that was a sad-looking thing, came in second, winning $3,000, and also won the People's Choice Award. Because you put a pug in a wheelchair with only like 2 front legs, you're going to win an award, right?
And he also only has one eye and the tongue out, and it's on opposite sides, so it's very well balanced.
Yes, it's really I hate to pick on, the handicapped, but, he really is an ugly dog.
Rome doesn't know any different. He's a happy guy.
Daisy May, a mixed breed dog with a white coat, took $2,000 in third place. There were 8 competitors in this year's contest. There's usually more than that. I'm thinking like the cost of airline tickets for you and your ugly dog are costing a lot more this year. But there you go. Congratulations to Wild Thang for winning this year. I had a Pika Palm and Pekingese Pomeranian.
Uh-huh.
And
what was his or her name?
Shaky Jake. which was named after the one character that my jester played when he wasn't playing a medieval jester. He played Shaky Jake, a bum, a hobo.
Yeah.
And I named him after Shaky Jake. And he was actually Shaky Jake. The person was cuter than Shaky Jake, the dog. But he had this he had this overbite, and we got him. I don't know why I got a small dog. We never had small dogs. We haven't had one since. But he fit in the palm of my hand when we rescued him at the pound.
Oh,
I mean, he's a tiny little puppy.
gosh.
And he was so cute then. And then he grew up into this barky little Pekingese Pomeranian thing. So although he got me through some tough times, that's when I first started getting sick with Lyme and all that stuff. So he got me through some tough times, sat on my chest a lot. But Jennifer hated that little dog. She was more the big dog person. And we never had a little dog after that, if that tells you something. So anyway, let's do some Daily Whinnies. And we only have one birthday today, Marissa Dubrock Kreidler. Happy birthday to you, Marissa. And now it's your turn.
We just wanted to give a daily Whinnie special to our auditors, Leela and Nan, the self-proclaimed tiniest subchapter of our auditor group. And they posted the most adorable picture with their proud HRN mugs raised at the Summer Festival Combined Driving event in California. So thank you guys, Leela and Nan, for spreading the HRN love.
Yeah, it was fun to see those guys. They posted last year, too, I think. I think there were 3 of them last year. There's one that wasn't there this year, but always love to see the drivers out and about. Reese and I announced, if you caught it over the weekend, it's in your feed here for Horses in the Morning, that we did a special episode. And we also did it on the Dressage show, and the auditors should find it as well. But we did a special episode to announce the Philip Parks Memorial Coaching Scholarship Fund. For new listeners, Philip was host of the Dressage radio show weekly with Reese Koffler-Stanfield for 11 years, and he passed away unexpectedly last year. So one of his big things that he really was concerned about is instructors getting certified through their federations, whether it was in Canada where he was or in the United States. Reese is a certified instructor. And it's some work to get that done. Phil spent a lot of years getting his done, and he really did believe in that. And Phil was all about education. That's what the Dressage show was all about. So his wife, Meredith, joined us, and his longtime student, Andrea, who we met when we went up for his service to Canada. And they put this together. It's called the Philip Parks Memorial Coaching Scholarship Fund. If you want to learn all about it and how you too can maybe contribute, take a listen to that special episode we put out. And we do still miss Phil. And I know Reese really misses Phil. So hopefully you'll take a listen to that. It was worth listening to hear. So good to talk to Meredith again, his wife, and Andrea as well. So take a listen to that. Now, some Olympic news. And this isn't about the Paris Olympics. This is about the LA Olympics coming in 2028. They released new updates on their proposed venues for competition, and it's changed in the equestrian world. They had originally picked a place, one of the places they had looked at was Handsome Dam Horse Park in Lakeview Terrace, California. However, it lacked adequate space and facilities to accommodate the Olympic and Paralympic equestrian competitions. And it didn't really have, it was that whole cross-country course. Takes up a lot of room.
Yep, that'll do it.
Yep. So they have now selected a different location, and that's Galway Downs, which you've heard of here. I think Jamie's even showed there, actually. And it's in Southern California. It's large enough to accommodate all the disciplines, and it's already built out. So, and it does a CCI 4-star eventing competition, so it's ready for the Olympic level eventing is 4-star. So it's already ready for this. They said that by using this facility rather than having to build out a bunch of things like they've done in past Olympics for equestrian, it will save $26 million.
Holy smokes.
Because it already has the infrastructure and facilities to do it. So, it's a good thing. They had looked at a couple other places as well, and the problem was all those other places also had horses that had to be displaced during, a month of time, and this one does not because it's a competition facility. So that's good. Also, Germany took, if you remember right, in dressage, Germany took both individual and team gold in 2020. Well, I wanted to remind you that Isabel Wirth was part of that successful German team in Tokyo, setting a new Olympic record along the way. She's the equestrian's most decorated Olympian of all time. She has 12 medals, including team gold and individual silver that she picked up in Tokyo. She has won a total of, get this, now this is just Olympics. This isn't, world championships or WEGs or, it's just Olympics. 7 golds, including her individual triumph in Atlanta in 1996.
Jeez.
Amazingly, she has won team gold in all 6 Olympic Games which she competed. So there you go. She's competed in 6 and won team gold in all 6. As well as the golds, she's also won 5 individual silver medals, but she turns 55 this year in July. Get this, she started in her early 20s.
Wow.
Competing in the Olympics. So back in 1996, she was in her early 20s. She's 55. Now, there's tough competition, as you can imagine, on the German team for dressage, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's tough competition with only 2 spots remaining on the German team for Paris, and she has not been selected yet. So she has a good horse, and she's definitely in the running, and my guess is they'll put her in, right?
I was going to say, Germans are very no nonsense.
Yeah.
And with a record like this, I hate to say, but I feel like you'd be making a bad call not throwing her in there.
Well, and but it all comes down to the horses, right? I mean, really,
Yeah.
What horse do you have at that particular moment in time? And apparently she does have a really good horse. So we'll see if she makes it. But I just wanted to remind everybody who the winningest Olympian in the equestrian world was, and that's Isabel Wirth. All right, that's it for the Olympic news. Let's hear a little bit about WERM flooring and get to our first guest.
WormFlooring.com now does your trailer roof. Leaky roofs are a very common problem in horse trailers and RVs. WERM Flooring's revolutionary silicone-based coating creates a barrier against the heat and the wet. First, it seals your roof to stop leaks before they start. Second, it reflects back nearly 90% of those nasty UV rays, keeping your trailer or barn up to 60 degrees cooler on a blistering day, which I have to tell you, June in Albuquerque, sounds amazing. So ditch the duct tape and the buckets. Invest in long-lasting peace of mind with Seal and Chill. It's applied by the professionals for a flawless finish, and it's only $7.50 a square foot. That's a steal for cooler, drier, happier trailers and RVs, which means happier horses and people. Head on over to wormflooring.com to find a dealer near you.
I think you're the best at reading commercials out of all of us, to be honest. I don't know if that says maybe you could get a job reading radio commercials, but you're really good at reading commercials. Much better. But anybody's better than me. All right. So before we get to Dana, the producer of the film Rescued Hearts, I wanted to ask you, you've lived in Florida with the hot, humid temperatures.
Yes.
And now you've lived in Albuquerque. What do you think of, what's the comparison?
Oh, that's a great question. And I'm going to get some heat for this pun, very much intended. Thank you. I'll be here all day. I'm going to say I prefer a humid heat. And it's only because I truly think that it makes you have better skin. Like my skin is so dry. It's all vanity based, baby.
I love you because you're so open about the fact that you are vain.
Well, a spade's a spade. I'm not going to. What point is it in covering it up? You guys, I can't wait to get Botox again once I'm done with this baby.
Yeah, I almost fell off my chair the first time you said that to me.
I think the humidity, it locks in the moisture in your skin. You have this beautiful glow. I wake up here and I'm like, I don't know. Do you remember like the raisin ads from the 80s?
Yep,
That's what I feel like.
And it's been, what, in the 90s?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's been this week. It's like raining. It rained all weekend. It was gorgeous. But last week it was like in the upper 90s with zero humidity. And I just stay inside. That's it. That's my trick. Life hack.
It's been hot everywhere. You know what? I think 3/4 of the country was hotter than we were in Florida last week. It's been that hot. My brother, who lives in Connecticut, was hotter than we were.
Oh my gosh. Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. All right, let's get to our first guest. Dana is the producer of Rescued Hearts. How do you think we say her last name? Croschere? Crochet?
I think that sounds great.
Croschere.
Croschere, not the crochet.
We'll find out. And I can't wait to hear about this documentary, and she'll tell us what it's all about. And there's even a preview now that's available to watch this week.
And joining us now is Dana. Is it Croschere? We were having a debate before you joined us on how to say your last name.
Well, whoever said Croschere got it right.
Okay, so it wasn't crochet. I just I was trying to Frenchify it a lot, and it didn't work.
It is French, though, Glenn, so good job.
Hébert is too, but I don't go by Hébert because people would just spell it wrong all the time. So,
Right.
Dana, thank you so much for joining us today. I've been really excited to get you on the show. Your new documentary, Rescued Hearts, came on our radar, a few months ago now. And as I understand it, we have a very exciting sneak preview announcement that we'll get to later. I wanted to start our conversation with a question, not necessarily on this documentary, but I understand that you've made multiple films. Has your subject matter always been equine related or focused on horses?
Great question. It actually has not. So the focus of our documentaries and really our mission as filmmakers in general, it's my partner and I, it's the two of us that work together. And it's all about spreading a lot of love, hope, and healing in this world. So our most recent documentary, it's an award-winning one that ended up on public television, PBS, and also a streaming platform called Gaia, is called Love Heals. And it actually follows the healing journey of myself and 18 other people that we took on that journey with us to learn new tools and ways to connect deeper with ourselves and in some, more of like these Eastern practices, mind-body practices. And it was an incredible, extraordinary journey. So no, it had nothing to do with horses and everything to do with healing.
I absolutely adore your mission. I try my best to be a ray of sunshine, and the world just needs more positivity, love, and light every day, as far as I'm concerned. So what inspired you guys to make a film about equine assisted therapy? What brought you then into the horse world?
Well, about 15 years ago, I was actually a volunteer at an equine assisted services place. And it happened to be that even though I was raised in Chicago and I really didn't have access to horses, I just had this strong desire to be around them anytime that I could. So when I moved to Arizona in 2003, it was like my mission to find a way to connect with these incredible animals. And I was in corporate America at the time, and I went to work one day and there was a volunteer fair and there was a table that said horses help. And I was like, what is that? And when I found out that it was, people partnering with horses to help humans, I was like, oh my gosh, could there be a better thing on this planet? I just felt so called. And so I did my research, and then I ended up going. And I can't even tell you how many years I spent there as a horse leader and a sidewalker. I worked with a lot of adults and children, disabilities and such. And it was some of the greatest years of my life. But what really stood out and why it led to where I'm at today is because I felt like I witnessed a miracle. When I was a volunteer, I was a horse leader for a 7-year-old boy who was diagnosed with autism and had never spoke words in his life. And for whatever reason that day that I was in that session with him, this boy started speaking while he was on his horse. And of course, he wasn't talking to me as the volunteer. He was talking to his horse.
Well, naturally.
Wow. What everybody cried. It was so incredible to witness. So fast forward, we get done with Love Heals. It's released to the world. We feel like, we got it to a really good place. So I started volunteering again. And I've been working with an 8-year-old girl. And I just, just witnessing the connection and how horses help kids and adults with things that, traditional therapies don't, or other people can't. It opens up their hearts in ways that not much else does. And so one day I came home after volunteering, and I was on Facebook, and I saw all these posts being shared about Heart Math Institute and some research that was done about the horse-human connection and why we feel so good in their presence. So I went to my partner and said, you know what? I know we just got done with one film and we're, trying to, take a breather because it's a lot of work. People don't realize what goes into bringing a documentary to the world. And I said, if you're ready to start another film, I think it needs to be about the healing power of horses. And so that's when it began. We started filming in November of 2023. No, 2022. So it's been about a year and a half. And yeah, it's been the most exciting journey and truly one of the most healing journeys, because what we uncovered in a year and a half of filming is something I can't even put words to. And thankfully, we don't have to. As filmmakers, we can bring it to life and allow people to feel what we experienced.
I personally can't wait to watch this film. A lot of our listeners probably don't know this about me, but I actually spent years and years and years volunteering through my teenage and young 20s, similarly at a equine assisted therapy barn, and actually was on the path to become at the time, it was NARHA, now it's PATH International, but I was set to become a instructor with them. Instead, I went and fell in love with a military man, and here we are today. But I guess all that to say is I've seen the magic that you are describing, and you really can't put words to it other than seeing it and witnessing it. And I'm just so excited for this film. Can you tell us maybe about some of the subjects of the film who, I don't know, give us a little sneak peek or a sneak story into one of the folks that you've highlighted in this documentary?
Absolutely. So one of the things, since it's very present right now, since we're just releasing our second sneak preview today, it's a 20-minute clip. And one of the things that I think is really different about what we're releasing is that we dig into the research and the science. So we have the researchers, Dr. Ellen Gerke and Dr. Ann Baldwin, that worked directly in collaboration with HeartMath Institute. We interviewed the director of research at HeartMath, Dr. Roland McCready. And so we went into the science and research to help people better understand not only what causes this incredible, and profound healing effect between horses and humans, but how to bring those tools into their own lives, right? Because not everybody that watches our film is going to have access to horses, but we want them to have tools. So that's one of the things I'm really proud of as it relates to our film. And then, you mentioned PATH International. We have the CEO of PATH International as somebody we filmed with to talk about, her perspective. And then we have a person who I would say is more in the the conscious space, a scientist, an author and educator, Greg Braden, who's very popular in bridging, science and spirituality and can speak to heart coherence in incredible ways. So we have, those elements, but then we have beautiful, heartfelt scenes of people who are receiving these services, or somebody like my dad. And this is not in this sneak preview, but I will share with you that one of the biggest ahas in creating this film is that any person can be impacted, given the right facilitation of connecting with a horse. There's a scene that, it just gives me the chills thinking about it. My dad was kind of a skeptic. He's like, what film are you making now about horses and healing? And what
Isn't
are you
it amazing?
even
Our
talking
families
about?
have no idea what we do.
They don't. So he's like, well, would it help me? And he was, at the time, he was just going through some pain stuff. He actually was suffering with chronic pain. And I said, listen, Dad, I think being in the presence of horses is healing to the human spirit in general. So do I think it could help you? I do. But if you want to have this experience, you got to let me film it. So he said, yes. And I will tell the two of you that what unfolded was something that healed our relationship in ways that I never thought possible. So that's probably one of the bigger ahas, was like, connecting with these animals and doing it in a therapeutic sense is not just for people with PTSD or, physical disabilities or any of those things. I really believe that horses are here to open the hearts of humans, period,
It's interesting what you said is that he went in to do the therapy, but what you said was it healed your relationship.
Yes.
That's interesting.
I can't wait for people to see it.
I always ask, the last 2 years, my thing has been asking guests what surprised them the most about whatever they're doing. I think this is the thing that surprised you the most.
It definitely surprised me the most. Yeah, I would say in general, just knowing now that horses and this type of work it can reach so many people in so many different ways, right? I wasn't sure going into the filming a year and a half ago what we were going to see. And yeah, that would probably be the biggest aha. And I'm so grateful because I feel like I've waited decades to have an open-hearted relationship with my dad. And thanks to a horse, that has now become a reality for me. So that was a huge awakening for so many reasons.
Wow, that gives me goosebumps because you went into it thinking he would gain something from it, and you ended up gaining something from it. I love that.
Yeah, we both did, right?
Yeah.
I think there are things that come up in the presence of a horse where people feel safe and grounded, and things will come to the surface that maybe somebody wasn't willing to look at or talk about in the past, right?
And I think it depends on the horse. Now, my Hackney pony, you might feel the exact opposite way sometimes.
Okay, that's fair. Yes.
Dana, I think exactly what you're saying will resonate hugely with our listeners because, I often joke with my horse friends like, oh, off to therapy, but that's code for the barn, It's not that, I love my therapist too, but I agree completely. There's just a magic there that helps you work through things you didn't even know you had to work through sometimes, or you're having a terrible day and then you go see your pony and your whole day turns around. I'm so incredibly excited about this project, and I'm glad that you and your partner took it on because I'm sure it was a lot of work emotionally too, Tell me, how can people watch the sneak preview that just released?
Yes, I will share that with you. But first, I need to say we often have joked that it's not the film that we're making, it's the film making us. There have been many times we're on the floor in a puddle of tears and it's unbelievable how much this work has transformed us. So
well, before you answer, I got to ask you about that because, obviously we've been doing this for 16 years. So we're all about putting shows together every day. And you storyboard this. How much, like on a project like this, after you're done storyboarding, how much of that gets thrown out because of the golden nuggets you find along the way and you go, this is much better than with that?
Well, so much and that's the problem we're actually having is we have so many golden nuggets. So we had probably over 75 different filming experiences, and some of them were not just an hour interview, they were days of immersion. So we filmed for a year and a half and have hundreds of hours of content. So you should see the wall in the room that this film is getting edited on. Our version of a storyboard is sticky notes all over an entire wall. And the themes and the people, oh, you guys, it is something to witness, let me tell you. So yeah, there's a lot that unfortunately that happens too, but here's what's cool about our mission right now. We're not only creating Rescued Hearts, it'll probably be, a full feature film. So let's say 80, 90 minutes, but then PBS is already interested in putting our film on public television, and we'll probably wait a year or two before we do that because we want to do a lot of self-distribution and events and stuff first. But we'll have a 60-minute, an hour cut of the film, and then typically we'll create a 30-minute conference cut so that if there are people that want to host a screening or do something to raise awareness about this, or maybe it helps their organization, they can use it as a fundraiser. We're going to offer a toolkit that will have different lengths of the film. But when we're done with Rescued Hearts, we're actually going to dig into some of the emerging themes that presented themselves. One huge one was grief and some of the research about grief specifically and partnering with rescued animals. And so we'll call that one Broken Hearts. Actually, I already have names
that's more
for
than
all
horses,
of them.
Right? That's dogs and cats and whatever. Yeah,
and it'll be primarily about horses, but we experienced something that we really need to bring to light in another film. So what we're going to do is create probably 4 additional short documentaries that all will end in hearts that have the same general theme, but it will allow us to use so much of the beautiful content that we captured in other ways. So we are hoping to utilize what we, filmed and captured that really touched us in ways outside of just the main film so that not much gets left on the cutting room floor.
Well, you'll have to keep coming back and keeping us updated so that we can share, because this is just such a beautiful mission, such a beautiful story, and this is exactly what we like to have on Horses in the Morning. So please go ahead and give me a shout whenever the sequels are ready, Dana, and we'll be happy to have you back on.
I would love to. And the way I would love to close, if you don't mind, I'm going to tell everybody about our sneak preview. But first, you just mentioned mission. Is it okay if I share with you what our mission is, and then I'll tell people how to find the sneak preview?
Perfect.
Awesome. So I'm going to read it to you. So we're making this film for every parent who has struggled to find ways to help their child. For those on the outside of society who feel unlovable because they don't know where they fit. For every veteran and first responder haunted by the past. For those who have lost someone so close to them, they struggle to make it through another day. For every horse who's been used as a tool or was rejected and thrown away because they didn't fit a perfect mold. For those who've experienced so much trauma, they have locked away their own heart. We hope to offer this film as a way of finding our way back home through connection with ourselves, each other, horses, and all of nature. So the way that people can watch our sneak preview is simply by visiting our website, rescuedheartsfilm.com. At the very top of it, we have the sneak preview link available, and the tickets are available for free. Because we are still fundraising to finish the film by this fall, we are lovingly accepting donations, no matter the size. And if somebody can't donate, that's perfectly okay. If they're inspired by what we created and are willing to share it, that is enough for us. We're so grateful. And in addition to that, we are going to have a virtual community event for people that are excited about Rescued Hearts and want to learn more from us, the filmmakers. In addition to having a heart coherence expert with us, we're doing a Zoom call on June 27th at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. And that link is underneath the ticket link on our website as well, if people want to join us. And they can watch this particular sneak preview from today, June 24th, through the 30th. So it's available for a week. And then we'll probably, depending on how it's going, we'll probably keep it on our website after that, maybe for like a $10 donation, just so we can continue getting support to finish the film.
And we will also be dropping those links in the show notes, listeners. So head on over there in your player. And Dana, thank you so much again for taking the time to chat with us today. I know what I'm going to be doing this week on the clock. I don't even care.
Oh, thank you, Ashley and Glenn. It truly is my greatest honor to be doing this work and to be here with you both today. Thank you for the opportunity to share. It means the world to me.
There's more talk than ever about the importance of probiotics in equine health, but not all probiotics are created equal. New Purina Systemic Supplement remains live and active after the pelleting process and throughout the digestive system, making it all the way to the hind gut. Systemic was designed to support normal recovery after exercise and occasional gastrointestinal stress. Whether you're using a probiotic now or not, it's time to use a live and active supplement from a name you can trust. New Purina Systemic Probiotic. Well, coming up next, we have DeAnn back with us from Horse Nation. DeAnn's been joining us for years and years and years, and we always discuss some of the cool things that are happening over on Horse Nation, some of the articles that we find fun and interesting. And today, DeAnn, by the way, are you in your barn? Are you usually?
I am in my barn.
Okay. Not in the truck or?
No, are you almost in the truck, but not in the truck?
Okay. All right. The first article, of course, speaks to me as a horse husband and every horse husband out there in the world. Discussion, the cost of horses. This is a conversation I think we've had more than any other on the show over the last 15 years.
Oh, I'm sure. And it's funny, as you said, that speaks to me as a horse husband. It occurred to me that I maybe shouldn't have published this because I try to keep my horse husband blissfully ignorant.
So tell us about this article.
So, okay, this was written by one of my longtime freelancers, Amanda Ronan. And it was based on a survey in the UK, but I believe for those of us who are based in the US or elsewhere, it is not at all specific to the UK. Horse people are horse people. And yeah, so it's just talking about the increase in costs in owning horses recently, and it said, in general, all costs have gone up, but the two largest increases in price costs were veterinary services and farrier services. Veterinary services have gone up by 80%.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Over what? Year over year? Or was it?
And I'm double checking because, of course, now I'm totally.
Yeah, it says last year. Yep.
Yeah. And with farrier services going up 65%.
Whoa.
And talk about the two services that we can't do without, right?
Wow. I thought it would have been hay or cost of food or something.
And hay would have been my first guess, especially with the fuel increase. Now, that might be more U.S. specific as opposed to UK. Let's get real. I don't know international fuel prices. I'm sorry. But that was huge. And so it also listed things people are doing, what changes they've made with how do they work with equine professionals in response. And it talked about extending time between routine visits, pulling shoes, delaying veterinary visits, things like that. And as somebody who worked with my vet and somebody who takes, I think as a lot of us do, the care of my horses pretty seriously, it was good to see that most people didn't consider getting rid of basic care. Some would extend time between visits and things like that. But there are definitely increased concerns about what they're going to do about feed moving forward, and things like that. So it's an interesting, there's some great infographics. It's an interesting and somewhat sobering study.
But, it was interesting too, that what you just talked about, the three of the things that they were most concerned about when thinking about the next year. And it was the cost of feed and forage, and that's certainly something here in the United States, especially if you live in an area like we do, where hay's very expensive.
Glenn? What is an average? I don't know, 50 to 60 pound square bale.
Jennifer does not let me know those numbers.
Smart woman.
So I can't answer that because she hides all that from me. Because and I'm always shocked how much two horses can eat. So
try 11.
Oh God, yeah, I can't even imagine. But the three were the cost of veterinary care. Obviously, was the top one for worrying about the next year. The cost of emergency care, which kind of goes together, right?
Yeah.
And then the feed was in there, but also rent, stable. Because we all, I don't think Ashley did, but you and I run boarding stables.
Yep.
And, we have to raise our prices when our costs go up. And of course, the boarders always look at you as the evil ogre who's, doing this because you're money hungry, when in fact you don't make a dime and probably lose money.
Oh, exactly. As a boarding, and let me be clear, I have a fairly rustic facility. I've got a small indoor, I've got a limited trail loop. I'm not running a state-of-the-art equestrian facility. This is, my price point's more for casual horse owners. I'm mainly the only one who shows in my barn, but it's a decently run facility. I provide high-quality feed, and my horses have 24/7 forage access. Whether that's hay or pasture, I don't ration hay. I refuse to, basically.
Well, if you're going to ration anything, that's the one thing you probably shouldn't ration.
Correct. But so I'm not hugely expensive, but it still is that issue of, for instance, I don't ration hay. Cost of hay has skyrocketed. Therefore, cost of board has to increase. Yeah. And I'm fortunate that my property owner, what I pay is very reasonable for my monthly rent. But also, as a result, I don't have a lot of control over things. I have to abide by certain rules that sometimes my boarders question me on. And if he chooses to increase it, it's about time for a really frank discussion with everyone. And I make nothing. My goal is to break even with my horses. And that doesn't include my own veterinary care or showing, right? That's basic.
It used to be in the old days when we were doing it that you did have this dream of making money, but I think things have changed so much over the years and the cost of things. Because, we used to be able to get the vet out for $40,
Right. And
there were a lot of them.
Exactly. And that concern that people are addressing, and I'm sure, we all keep beating the subject to death, but I don't think people are totally getting it. especially where I live, where we, for the longest time, were pretty spoiled with the number of decent quality ambulatory equine vets in our area. People don't get the shortage, and they don't understand that for emergency care, you are paying a premium but usually expect to haul in. Like, you better have access to a trailer.
And
people
some of our
are
listeners, last time we talked about this, DeAnn, some of our listeners had to go 4 hours to vet.
Yeah.
Right? It's just crazy.
And
go ahead.
I was going to say, again, I'm fortunate. We've got ones nearby, but even still, the veterinary practice is 6 miles from my barn. If I call an emergency, they're like, well, can you haul in?
Yep.
Which the answer is usually yes. And they know me well enough that I'm calling that it's an emergency, not, Flicka doesn't have an abscess.
Right.
But it's, and people get up in arms about having to haul. And I'm like, everyone, this is the way it's going to be. You need to have access,
it's true.
Be prepared to spend more and have to do more.
It's true. One other thing before we get off of this topic, because it's giving me the hives.
Right.
is the bottom graphic. 60% of owners have already reduced or stopped attending lessons, clinics, and events, with a further 30% considering doing so. Because that's the one area, you got to feed your horse, you got to get vet care for your horse, but that's the one area you go, okay, well, the one thing I can cut out. By the way, a lot of the times people have the horses for this reason, right? Attending lessons, clinics, and events. And that's the one thing you have to cut out. And it gets to the point where, okay, I'm owning a horse, but the goal-driven people don't have a goal anymore.
Right.
There's two types of people that own horses, right? The goal-driven people who want to do something, and then there's people like me who are just having fun with them. And I'm not saying that you can't do both, but we all know the goal-driven people, right? So,
well, and as someone who, and I wouldn't say I'm as goal-driven as some, but at the same time, I would have to think long and hard if tomorrow I went, okay, I can't compete anymore, because I do love my horses. I love spending time with them.
But you would change how you spend time with them.
Absolutely. And I do love trail riding, and I have friends I can do that with, but it's one of those where I would say, okay, which of these horses do I need to keep?
Well, there you go. I was just going to say, like Jennifer and I, we each have one, because we're in it for just fun now. So,
right.
Yeah.
And so serviceably sound is fine. Yeah.
And the other one I thought was interesting too is 20% had already reduced or stopped equestrian memberships, with 15% more considering doing so. And that's interesting because I've talked to a couple of the associations that we work with whose membership is down, and it's down by about 15%.
That is very interesting, because I don't know that that's one that I would have automatically considered. And maybe I'll have to acknowledge, right, that I speak from a certain position of privilege, in that I don't usually factor my memberships in as a huge cost.
Right. Yet the other day I looked at how many networks we're subscribed to for TV, and I went, oh my God, because it comes out every month in little dribs and drabbles.
Right.
And then all of a sudden it's $200 a month, but you're seeing it in little pieces rather than the whole. So I kind of get it. I kind of get, you
absolutely.
have to cut out a lot of little pieces eventually. All right, let's go on to the next one, because this one truly hits home for me, because Jennifer goes through this more than me. And we took 4 cruises last year. It just worked out that way.
Oh, good for you.
But the whole cruise, she's just worried about the horses. So, and your article was When Horse People Go on Vacation, 7 Concerns Only Equestrians Truly Understand. Let's go through the 7.
So I do have to tell you, I was writing this as I was sitting in Canada.
Oh, there you go.
Not at home. I was on vacation going, this feels like an article.
I love number 1 because it's the number 1.
Right. But yeah, your horse will get injured. Oh, yep. Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. You're out of town. Flicka's going to come in lame.
Yep.
100%.
And for years, we traveled a lot, especially the road show where we're going for weeks and weeks at a time, Nigel would get injured. It just was every time. It seemed like every time we went away, Nigel was getting injured. Now, I would like to say it wasn't always Scooter's fault, but yeah, most of the time it probably was.
Well, and I feel like, and let me be clear, and I'm not even pandering, because I'm not sure that that the people who feed for me listen to podcasts, so I'm not even kissing up. I have quality people who take care of the barn when I'm away. They're some of my boarders, and they're, so they care about the horses as much as I do.
Still wary.
But it's still and you have that, you know how when you're, and you know from running a boarding barn, you get into this habit of this is how I do things, not just because it's good practice, but because horse A sometimes kicks at horse B. So you have to grab horse A first,
Yep.
or, you know,
The little
and
things.
that you don't even think about because it's just part of your day to day. And when somebody else feeds, you're going like, oh man, oh, they don't know that. Like, uh-oh.
That's why the list is always 20 pages long.
Right.
Number 2, the weather especially applies to this year. Oh my God.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
And that one was literally, I was texting with my boarders because we were in the middle of that like mid-Atlantic, Midwestern heat wave. But then we would get these thunderstorms cropping up at night and sometimes my barn likes to flood.
Oh.
Not horribly, but you know, every once in a while with a big enough surge.
I like number 3 too, because it's something that we have to deal with when we're home or when we're gone, and the fence might go down. It was the worst when we owned cows. Those damn cows.
Oh, they break it all the
my
time.
God. It doesn't matter what kind of fence either. They just, and I don't think it was intentional. Well, I think it was intentional, actually. Maybe it's because we named them Chuck and Roast. They were just pissed.
Oh, fair.
Yeah.
I have friends who have a longhorn, and he's a lovely longhorn who, if the fence goes down, just kind of like wanders around the property.
Yeah.
But I think he just swings his head and takes it down with those horns.
Have you ever had the loose pony? When we had our big farm, it was 100 acres, and we sat back a long road, so it was very private. There were no neighbors, and we had a pony that for 3 years was just loose, and would be waiting for us outside the back door. Would be standing on the stoop of the back door. We'd open the door in the morning, and there's the pony just looking at you. And he never went anywhere, never got loose, never went anywhere, but wandered around the property.
Did he theoretically have a pasture?
No, he just wandered around the property.
Oh, he just lived there.
Yeah.
So because I don't own this, I'm not allowed to do that. My property owner lives on site practically.
It was kind of fun, except he would hang out by the back door all night, so all the poop would pile up by your back door.
Oh, yeah. I will say that the pony that I have, she would do that. She's the one you have to worry about with the fence going down with the electrical. Like if the power goes out, she's like a velociraptor. She tests that sucker regularly.
We'll do one more, and I do like number 4 because it's something that we have had happen at boarding stables in the past, and nobody obsesses about it more than the owner of the horse, and that's they'll run out of water, especially outside.
Oh my God. Yes. And I'm, especially in the heat, you know, I'm diligent about checking the troughs. I check them twice a day, and I'm on a well. So you have to like play you can't fill all the troughs at once game. You have to like taper it. And then, so I obsess about, did we taper it? Did they run the well dry? Did the well go dry? Like,
yep. Yep. I know. Cause nobody obsesses about that more than the owner of the horse. That's true.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I'll put the links to these in the show notes. One other quick thing before you go. I know we're running out of time for the show here, but I wanted to bring this up because it comes up all the time on our show. And I don't know if you saw the Japanese...
You didn't fire me? No, you didn't fire me. No. But what was it?
It's the Japanese study, a comparison of 5 cooling methods in hot and humid environments with thoroughbred horses. So the thing that's come up is, do you scrape the water off after a bath or do you leave it on? And there's been arguments about this for years. Do you use a sweat scraper or not after a bath? Or, even after you hose them off or whatever. You just let the water there.
So are you asking what do I do?
Well, that's been the argument, and it's usually 50-50,
yes.
right? I mean, it's usually people say, yes, you should, or no, you shouldn't. And old timers like us did. I mean, you just were taught to scrape the water off. I don't know why.
Right.
But they did this test. So they tested 5 cooling methods, and one was walking with no additional cooling, walking with fans, so the fans helped cool.
So quickly, I'm going to interrupt you one more time. Here's what's super funny. I just published, before we got on the phone, a Mythbuster Monday that addresses this exact study.
Oh.
It's tangential topic, just about basically after you exercise your horse, is walking it out until it's dry like the best way to do it, because we've been told so many different things, and it talks about this study. But continue.
All right. Well, it was a Japanese study. So the other one was walking with intermittent application of cold water, like the endurance riders do, right?
Yep.
And scraping or without scraping, and then stationary with continuous tap water for just keep running water over them.
Yeah.
And so they did all these tests and everything, and they were taking temperatures after 30 minutes. So they would do it when they got in and then after 30 minutes of whatever method. And what they came up with, the study clearly demonstrated that showering horses continuously with tap water was superior to cold water or walking or fans or anything, just keeping the water running on them. And they did say that you don't need to scrape them. That had nothing to do with anything, and it really wasn't effective. It didn't change anything. So that's what they came up with. So I don't know. What did your article say? Was that?
So this one, like I said, the focus was similar, but it was a little bit different. It basically, but it was the same thing, that you're better off just hosing them with tap water.
Because the tap water is still going to be cooler than the temperature.
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
And it also, it did point out though that like you still need to let the horse's heart rate and respiratory rate come down. Like don't jump off your horse after a hard workout and go throw a bunch of cold water on it. Like, so it was kind of addressing things compared to walking the horse as opposed to simply hosing it. So it addresses a couple of those things, but it talked about the exact same thing. And I think we did one last year about whether or not you needed to scrape, right? Because we were all told that if you don't scrape, the horse actually gets hotter,
and it's
like
die tomorrow. Yes.
Right. And I will say I still scrape, but part of that is this has nothing to do with that I think my horse is going to overheat. It more has to do with if I don't scrape, they get extra itchy and they roll more.
That's it. That's why I scrape. That's exact. I washed my pony yesterday and I knew damn well. And he goes and rolls anyway, but at least it won't stick as much.
Exactly.
That's
and if
theory.
I really have a lot of time, which I so often do, I will sit and hand graze and let the horse dry off even more to try to keep it cleaner longer.
I tried putting him in the stall, but then he rolls in the stall. So it's like, can't win.
Oh, and that's my bigger fear is the stall rolling. Like if I'm at a show, I'll hose, after I'm done competing or do a full bath. And that's when I definitely hand graze because I don't want them rolling in the stall and getting hung up.
Yes, right. Exactly. God, we have a lot to worry about with horses.
Oh my God, horses.
DeAnn, it's Horse Nation. That's where you can find all of the articles. Thanks so much for joining us again this month.
Yeah, sure thing. We'll talk to you hopefully next month.
All right. Thanks, DeAnn.
Cosequin ASU joint and hoof pellets contain quality ingredients to support joint and hoof health and leave out the fillers, molasses and alfalfa, all while delivering the taste horses love. The colors of our ingredients shine through for a difference you can see. Visit CosequinEquine.com.
Well, we have an announcement brought to you by our bosses at the Equine Network. They've been working hard, and they've partnered with Linda Mars of Mars Equestrian, and they are announcing the launch of MySeniorHorse.com. It's a dedicated website aimed at entertaining and assisting owners and managers of senior equines. So this has been in the works probably since they bought us, a while ago. And they had the mynewhorse.com, which was for new horse owners. And now this is for owners of people who have donkeys and mules or horses or ponies that are 15 years of age or older, because as you know, taking care of the oldsters is a little different than taking care of the youngsters. So it's really designed to bring a lot of information about how to care for them, what to do, not only feed and that kind of stuff, but pretty much everything. So if you get a chance, it's well done. It's myseniorhorse.com. Check it out today. Well, that's it for today. Thank you, Ashley, for filling in. Really appreciate it. It was a good day. It was a good show.
It's a great day, a great show, and I guess my last one for a while.
I know, but hang on, auditors, because we're going to hang around and do some Question First World Problems after. So hang on for that. Ashley, thank you so much, and good luck.
Thanks.
Yay, we can't wait to see pictures of babies.